That's right, boys and girls. It's time to talk about some scary stuff. And I'm talking about negative exponents. There's nothing more scary in math, 8th grade math, than dealing with negative exponents. It just will scare the creepers out of you. We've lost many students in the past to negative exponents, but this year is going to be different. We're going to try our best to keep all you guys together in our class and hopefully not lose any of you. Even you, Adam. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's take a look at negative exponents. So, negative exponents, they're just like nervous little characters, whether they're numbers, whether they're letters, whether they're symbols. They're just nervous. Anytime they have a negative exponent, they're nervous. So what I like to think of is imagine we have a pool here. Okay, so here is a pool. We've got x to the negative third, y to the negative 8, c to the negative fourth, z to the negative 2. And they're all nervous because they're uncomfortable where they are. They don't want to be where they are. That's why they have that negative exponent. That's why they're shaking. They're just not comfortable. So in order to make them comfortable, for example, x to the negative 3, he's in the water. He's not comfortable there. He's nervous. He's like, I gotta get out. So to get rid of that negative, what we're going to do is we're just going to take x to the negative 3 and get him out of the pool. Now he's comfortable. He's got a positive exponent. He's good to go. Now here you got y to the negative 8, and he is a nervous Nelly here. So he's looking to get in the pool because he's not happy outside the pool. So we're going to move y to the negative 8 into the pool. So when we move him into the pool, he now becomes y to the 8th. You notice the negative exponent goes away because now he's more comfortable. C to the negative 4th, same thing. He's in the pool. He's all nervous. He doesn't want to be in the pool. We got to get him out. So we're going to move him out of the pool. And that now becomes c to the 4th. Notice when I move the character, the negative goes away. That's what we want. We don't want to deal with any negative exponents. And finally, we have z to the negative 2. He's outside the pool. He's nervous. He doesn't want to be there. We are going to move him down into the pool. You'll notice he now becomes z to the positive 2nd. Now, here's the deal. Imagine this isn't a pool. Imagine this is a fraction bar. So all we're doing is moving our numbers or our variables across that fraction bar based on the negative exponent. So here, this x to the negative 3, this guy was below the fraction bar in the denominator. To make it positive, all we did was move them to the numerator. Same with y to the negative 8. We just moved them to the denominator. He's now fine. He's cool. He's no longer nervous. He's got rid of the negative exponent. So basically, over the next couple pages here, what we're going to be working on is just trying to get rid of the negative exponent because we don't want to deal with them. And the way you get rid of your negative exponents is to move them either from the numerator to the denominator or vice versa. So let's take a look at the next page. So take a look at number 1. Here we have 7 to the negative 3rd power. Now, again, I don't want to deal with negatives. He's nervous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my fraction bar. And right now, 7 to the negative 3 is on top. Well, I'm going to move him now to the bottom. And notice, as soon as I move him, the negative exponent goes away. There's my answer. Here I have 1 over 4 to the negative 2. Now, the negative exponent's in the denominator. Don't want that. He's nervous, doesn't like it. We got to move him. We're going to move him to the top. So we move 4 to the negative 2 to the top. And again, remember, as soon as you move them, the negative goes away. Okay, you could write it over 1, or you could just leave it as 4 over negative 2. And the same thing works for variables. Here I have x to the negative 4. Well, it's in the top. It's in the numerator. I got to move it because it has a negative exponent. It now becomes 1 over x to the 4th. So go ahead and try 4, 5, and 6 based on the same thing. So go ahead and hit pause. Okay, I should have mentioned you should have copied the problems down. I apologize for that. I should have given you more time for that. But if you want to take your time now to copy these down, go ahead, hit pause. But anyways, you can see the first answer. I moved 5 to the negative 2 to the denominator. Negative goes away. Here we moved it to the top. Negative goes away. And number 6, I moved it to the denominator. Okay, let's take a look at the next page. Now, this is the rule you want to write in your notebook. So the first rule is here we have x to the negative n. Well, again, it's got a negative exponent. Don't want that. It's got to go in the denominator. So I'm just going to rewrite this as 1 over x to the n power. And the same thing down here, if I have 1 over x to the negative n, again, like we talked about the swimming pool, he's not comfortable down here in the pool. We want to get him out of the pool. So it's just going to be x to the n. And again, once you move it, the negative must go away. So these are kind of your formulas. You'll see these on the formula sheet, on the PSSA formula sheet, to help you out with negative. It's just there to remind you that if it has a negative exponent, it's not comfortable. Okay, so let's take a look at this next problem. So we have 4 problems here, and please copy these down as we do these. So the one thing to remember is that the negative exponent only affects whatever it's attached to. So if you look at this first one, I have 4 times 3 to the negative second. So the negative 2 goes with the 3. It does not belong to the 4. So the only thing that's going to flip sides up or down is whatever has a negative exponent. So this 4 has an exponent of a positive 1, really. So it's happy. He's cool where he's at. He's all right on top. Well, the 3 is not happy. He's like, yo, get me out of here. I got to get down below because I got this negative exponent here. So this one would work out to be 4 over 3 squared. And again, remember, when you have a negative exponent, you move it, the negative exponent goes away. And this one, if you really want to, is 4 ninths. Now take a look at the next problem. So here I have 12a to the negative 3b squared. Well, which one has the negative exponent? Well, the a does. So that's the only one that's uncomfortable, that wants to move to the other side. So that's the only one I'm going to put down to the bottom. So I'm going to rewrite this as 12. B squared stays on top. He's got a positive exponent. He's cool as a cucumber. He's fine. And a to the negative third now moves down to the bottom, and he is raring to go. So now everyone's got a positive exponent. Everybody's happy. We can move on. Okay, so I have 2 problems down below. Go ahead and copy these 2 problems in your notebook. Hit pause when you're ready, and check your answers in a couple seconds. Okay, you can see in the first problem, the only item that has a negative exponent is our x. So that's the only one that drops down below. So that I get 8 over x squared. And then the next problem, the only one with a negative exponent is the m. Now, if the n had the negative exponent, it would also go down to the bottom. So again, only move the items that have the negative exponents. Okay, moving on. Okay, take a look at page 18 in your packet. So what I'd like you to do is go to 18 right now, and I've circled a couple exercises that I want you to work on. Work on exercise 5, 7, 8, and 10. Go ahead and hit pause and check your answers when you're done. So again, this is page 18 in your book. Okay, so go ahead and check your answers. Just kind of a review of what we've been talking about over the past couple pages here. So the first one's 1 over 5 to the third. Exercise 7 is 3 over 2 to the fourth, and I just changed 2 to the fourth to 16 because I'm starting to become familiar with my 2's, powers of my 2's. Exercise 8 is 1 over x to the third. The x drops down to the bottom. And finally, x over y to the fourth. Okay, moving on. Let's get that page. Okay. So now we're going to deal with negative powers when dealing with a parentheses. So kind of what we talked about yesterday, when you have a power outside the parenthesis here, you're going to apply it to everything inside the parentheses. So this negative 3 is going to affect the 7. It's also going to affect the negative 2. I'm going to multiply that out. So watch what happens here. So this really becomes 7 to the negative third power over 2 to the negative third power. Now again, some of you may stop here because you've done your multiplication, but you have to remember that we do not like negative exponents. In fact, the numbers don't even like negative exponents. They want to get out of the pool. We're in the pool based on their exponents. So if I see here, this 7 to negative 3 is not happy. He wants to go down here. This 2 to negative 3, he's not happy. He wants to move to the top. So it's almost like these guys just want to switch positions, which is fine. So let's go ahead and write this. Let's move 2 to the negative third to the top, and 7 to the negative third to the bottom. And again, when you switch, we lose our negative exponents. Go ahead and write the one down below in your notebook, and then go ahead and try to solve that problem. Hit pause. Okay, so hopefully you distributed your 5 to not only the negative 5 to the 5 in the numerator, you also distributed your negative 5 to the 9 in the denominator. As you can see right here, I already did that. Now again, as soon as you get negative exponents, they're nervous, they're not happy, they want to move. And when you move them, you get rid of the negative. That's the whole point of doing it. If you moved it and kept your negative, it's kind of like, well, why did you do it in the first place? Okay, so I flip-flop these guys. So 5 now jumps down to the bottom, and 9 jumps up to the top into the numerator. Okay, moving on here. Okay, now this next type of problem, I'm going to do two different ways, and I'd like you to take notes and carefully pay attention to what happens here. So, we learned when we did division of items that have the same base, so 12 and 12, we subtracted their exponents. So in this case, it would be 12, 3 minus 8. Now, if you took your calculator and you got 12, 3 minus 8, did 3 minus 8, you'd realize that that becomes a negative 5. Well, again, I have a negative exponent. I don't want it. So what that really means is I'm going to put that in my denominator, so 12 to the 5th power. So again, subtract your exponents. If you get a negative response, it now drops to the bottom. So take a look at another way to do it. If I were to write this out, this would really be 12 times 12 times 12 over 12 times 12 times 12 times 12 times 12, I'm going to run out of room, times 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, times 12, times 12. And again, cross them off, cross them off, cross them off. Well, how many 12s are left on the bottom when you do this? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what does that end up being? Well, 1 over 12 to the 5th. There's no 12s left on top because I crossed them off, and there's 5 12s left on the bottom. So one of the ways you can look at this is say to yourself, well, hey, I got the same thing, same base on top and bottom. Well, I've got 8 on the top, 3 on the top, 8 on the bottom. Well, that means I'm going to have 5 more on the bottom. So which way you choose to do this is up to you. So let's take a look at a couple more just like this. Okay, so take a look at this top one here. Go ahead and take your time to type this down in your notebook. X to the 4th, y to the 7th over x squared, y to the 12th. So again, I'm just going to do this and look at it. I'm going to say to myself, well, here I'm going to compare my x's, and I notice I've got 2 more x's on top. Well, that means I'm going to have x squared on top. If I look at my y's, I've got 7 on top, 12 on the bottom. Well, I'm going to have 5 more on the bottom, so that's just going to be y to the 5th. You could do it out long ways. You could do 4 minus 2 is 2, and 7 minus 12 is a negative 5, which ends up getting you on the bottom, or you could look at it and determine how you can do that. So now I have a problem on the bottom, and I'd like you to try it again. Hit pause, copy the problem down, and check your answer. Okay, so again, all I did was eyeball this. I saw my A's. I said I've got 4 A's on top, 7 A's on bottom. Well, that means I'm going to have 3 more A's on the bottom. Here I've got 8 B's on top, 3 B's on the bottom. So that means I'm going to have 5 more B's on the top. So you can just kind of eyeball that. And then you don't have to worry about the whole negative thing, subtraction thing. And just see, well, which has more in which spot. That's what you're going to be left with. So that's why I end up with b to the 5th over a to the 3rd. Okay, so let's take a look at a little bit more complicated problem. It's not too much, but I think you guys are catching on here. So now take a look at this problem. So where are my like bases? Well, I have my 4s and I have my 6s. Notice 5 doesn't have a base. We'll talk about that in a sec. So take a look at the 4s. Well, where are there more 4s? There's only 3 on top, 5 on the bottom. So that means I'm going to have 2 more on the bottom. So that's going to turn into 4 squared. Alright, let's take a look at our 5s. Well, the 5s don't have any buddies, so there's really nothing I can do. That 5 just stays there. So he's going to stay on the bottom, times 5 squared. Nothing I can do with that. Now take a look at the 6s. Well, I've got 7 on top, 3 on the bottom, so I'm going to have 4 more on top. So that's going to be 6 to the 4th. Okay? So again, just to kind of review, way back when we had our problems, negative exponents like to jump to the other side, whether it's positive or negative. Whether it's numerator or denominator. Okay, then when you have problems like this one, just see if they have the same base where the more or the higher exponent lies, and that's where you're going to have more of them. Okay, so go ahead and try to work on the rest of your packet, the 4th page, dealing with negatives. Feel free to check your answers or ask Mr. Comer and I if you have any other questions. All right, good luck. Hopefully you're not scared of negatives anymore.